Hi everybody. My name is Jerry Wise, and I'm a life and relationship coach, and I've been helping people learning about self-differentiation for 45 years. And this video is entitled Neutral Responses, the Power to Self-Differentiate. I hope you'll join my YouTube channel and you'll click the bell to be notified for new videos that come out. I also have a master class coming up. It should be in December or January. You can check on my website for that. And I hope you'll join me for that 4-hour master class that we'll be doing together. And it's on reactivity and reducing your reactivity. I think it will really help a lot of folks. So what are neutral responses? And neutral responses are very helpful as a means to stay yourself while connected with other people. Someone says to you, "I'm so upset that you're still dating that woman." Well, I'm sorry to hear you're upset. And again, it's a neutral response. I'm not addressing the push or pull or the defensive or being defensive or reactive. And I'm ignoring the issue that they have, which would be with me or you dating that woman. And I'm ignoring that issue, which is my issue and my choice, not theirs. So why would I address that? Why would I argue with them about who I'm dating? That's not for them to control or decide. So I'd simply say, well, I'm sorry to hear you're upset about that. Hey, you want to grab some lunch? I'm sorry to hear you're upset about that. Hey, how's Dad doing? Again, we are not pulled into the issue that they have. We stay more calm. We stay less reactive. So neutral responses are self-differentiation moves when other people are trying to bait us or pull us in with their issues or enmeshment. They are a don't take the bait responses is what they are. Because many times, if somebody says, "Are you still dating that woman?" they're baiting me about my dating life. Well, I don't need to sort that through with them. I don't need to get their approval. And remember, there are a couple of rules that are really important. You don't have to answer any question that everyone or anyone asks of you, except to a police officer, a judge, a boss, or something like that. You are not required to answer any question. But you also don't have to get reactive to not answer it. And second of all, you never have to address the issues that are yours, not theirs, even though they think it's an issue for them too. Obviously, in the first statement, they were upset, "I'm dating this woman," or "still dating this woman." Well, that's their issue if they're upset with me dating her. It's not my issue. And I don't have to address other people's emotional states. That will just get me pulled in and baited in. Neutral statements help us keep us more separate while staying connected. I don't have to run away, nor do I have to be reactive or conflictual with them. Reactivity causes more distance, I have to run away, or conflict. And conflict is a result of reactivity. Just as overfunctioning can be as a result of reactivity, triangles as a result of reactivity, running away a result of reactivity, or complying and giving in and just going along with whatever they say and trying to make them feel better about the issue is reactivity. Neutral responses guide and force us to deal with what we really need to deal with or to work on. If we stay neutral, it brings up our issues to the forefront. In other words, because a lot of people say, well, that's hard for me to do, Jerry. It's hard for me to be neutral. I know it's hard. I've been practicing it for decades. It takes practice, and it's not easy. And many people say, oh, it just seems so easy for you. No, it hasn't been easy. It's taken me a long time to develop a healthier self and neutral responses. And that helps to keep me calm and thinking rather than reactive and feeling. And then my thoughts get all jumbled up. And when you're challenged to give a neutral response, just like when I go to the person who says, are you still dating that woman? And I go, well, I'm sorry to hear that's upsetting to you. And then I stop, find out what that brings up for you. And often what would be brought up for me is I'm trying to get their acceptance and I'm acceptance seeking. I'm trying to get their approval and I'm approval seeking. I'm wishing they would know me better. I wish they had a better relationship with me. But all of those are immature wishes and wants. This is the way they are, and I'm accepting the way they are, but I have to deal with my neediness if I give a neutral response. And that's a healthy thing to do. Deal with your issues rather than trying to resolve those issues by, oh, well, let me tell you, she's really nice. I think you'd really like her. No, she's not like she used to be. And then I'm defensive, I'm reactive, and I'm trying for approval seeking. Neutral responses include 2 or 3 components. One is empathy or understanding. Second is declaring self. And thirdly, maybe being silent or saying less and not taking the bait. And when I said, oh my, you must be upset about that issue. Hey, what are we going to have for lunch? I was empathetic. I simply remained silent about the issue because it's not theirs to confront me with. It's my dating life. Why are they interfering in my dating life? Now, they could say, are you still dating that woman? And I could declare self, which is one of the components, and I could say, well, as a matter of fact, I am. I'm sorry you feel upset about that. Hey, what do you want to do today? Neutral responses include taking a stance that avoids their issues, their feelings, and their reactivity about my life. But I want to take a stance that it's not my circus, not my monkeys. If you're upset about me dating this woman, that's your monkeys, your circus. It's not mine. Because I get to decide who I date, for how long, in what way, or what kind of relationship I have. If you're upset by it, then we're enmeshed. Because adults respect other adults and respect other adults' choices. It doesn't mean we can't be caring or concerned if there's real problems with a relationship that we want to raise with another adult, but we do that respectfully, not reactively. Neutral responses help us to stay calm because often we engage others with our intensity and reactivity. And you can tell you're being reactive if you feel like you want to lecture, criticize, whine, complain, try to get acceptance, or try to be fused or have more togetherness or have this warm fusion that we have. Versus being neutral and non-judgmental and staying out of their circus. Because by me staying out of their circus, I'm telegraphing them to stay out of my circus. Who I'm dating is my circus, my monkeys. It's not your circus, your monkeys. Actually, this is a means by which we move closer to become more separate. I become empathetic, don't get into the issues that are theirs, And so I stay connected while being myself with a neutral response. And relationships are paradoxical. They're a paradox. To be closer, we need more separateness. To be more separate, we need more closeness. Both of those are true. And that's what neutral responses can help me with, is the second one. More separateness. To be more separate, we need to be closer. I'm engaging the person, but I'm not engaging in their monkeys, their circus about me. And so we actually are closer because I'm not rejecting them. I'm just not reacting to their reactivity. Neutral responses help us stay connected without cutting off and without being reactive. When our reactivity is activated by others, learning to give neutral responses help us reduce our reactivity and keeps us more calm and often has a positive effect on others. My coaching involves lots of role plays and using neutral and self-differentiating responses to grow ourselves up, to keep calm, and change the relationship dynamics and emotional process. Here's some examples of some neutral responses. Here's a detriangulation neutral response, because triangles often are a part of reactivity. A parent says, "Do you know what your sister did to me?" "No, but it must have upset you. I hope you've talked to her about it." "Not my circus, not my monkeys. Her circus, her monkeys. My sister's circus, her monkeys. But I can be concerned that she was upset. That's fine. I can be empathetic." Your husband told your father that he didn't really like the lamb we had for dinner. I think that is rude, and I hope you will talk to him, Mary. "Mom, I don't know if he said that or not. I assume he did, but maybe you or Dad could talk to him about what he said. I thought the lamb was great." Not my circus, not my monkeys. Your upsetness doesn't become something I own. It becomes something you have to take responsibility for as an adult, and an adult relationship with other people, without me triangulating in it. Rather than, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Mom, that he said that. I'll go and talk to him. I hope everything's okay. I thought the lamb was great." Now I'm enmeshed. Now I'm looking for acceptance and approval. And now she's parenting me, and now I got to go parent my husband. Mary has to go parent her husband. And that's not going to work out well in their marriage. "Jerry, your son threw a cigarette butt in my flower garden." Well, that seems rude. You may want to talk to him about that. Mom says, "But that is why I'm telling you. And that's why I'm telling you." "Mom, my parenting years stopped long ago. I would just go and talk to him about his behavior or rudeness or insensitivity." Not my circus, not my monkeys. If my son's 35 years old, why am I supposed to go parent him? Because he did something you didn't like. You go and talk to him as an adult. And in fact, he'd probably be happy to talk with you about that and, might apologize or whatever. But still, not my monkey, not my circus. Saying no without feeling guilty responses are part of neutral responses we can have. "I want you and your family to be here on Christmas Eve for supper, and you probably should arrive about 5 p.m. And because of the dating of this video, the holidays are coming up. "I know we've always come to your house, Dad, on Christmas Eve, but we've decided to do something special for our family Christmas Eve this year. So I'd like to plan a different day and time with you and Mom." You have to be kidding, Dad said. No kid of mine would not show up for Christmas Eve dinner. Shame. Why didn't you tell us sooner? Guilt. It's already October and we're planning our normal family gathering with all the family. Well, Dad, we just recently decided this and we felt 2 months' notice would be enough and plenty of time to let you know. But, well, you know this will cause us as a family not to be with everyone on the same day, and it will upset everybody, and your mom will feel hurt. Well, Sally and I are looking forward to something different and special for our own family this Christmas Eve. We would be available any other time to get together, Dad. Now, if you notice, I didn't, not my circus, not my monkeys, that everyone else would be upset. Mom would be hurt. I'm not making anybody be hurt. I'm declaring something that I would like to do as an adult and with my own family. I don't have to fix everybody's feelings about that. Now, I could be more empathetic and say, I'm sure this change probably would be, and I think I even said, I'm sure that might feel disappointing, Dad. So I can be empathetic. I'm sure Mom might be disappointed. My siblings might be disappointed. But this is something that, Sally and I want to do. And just because they're disappointed doesn't mean I have to live under the threat that if they're disappointed, I'd better change. Welcome to the world of disappointment. We all have disappointments. And I'm not doing this with any malice. If you notice in my response, I share some empathy. I declared myself of what we wanted to do. I stayed silent about some things I have no control over, like how everyone will be upset. I can't fix all of that and don't need to. It's not for me to fix anyway. And if you'd like, Dad, I could say, if you'd like, Dad, I'd be happy to tell Mom and tell the siblings what Sally and I plan to do this year. So I'm willing to take the heat from them, but I'll do the same neutral responses with them and go, I'm sure it's disappointing, but this is what we've chosen to do. And so I would talk with each one individually. I don't have to have Dad go tell them all. Dad, I'm willing to go and talk to everybody. Don't worry about that. It's my choice. And I don't have to triangle through Mom and Dad to tell siblings and everybody. Then everybody gets in an uproar and it becomes a major triangulated mess. I care about the feelings of others, but I keep my foot nailed to the floor so I can only go around in these circles and not be persuaded to give in or to comply. So I want my foot nailed to the floor this is what we're doing for Christmas Eve, and we're not doing what we've always done with the family for Christmas Eve. I'm just nailing my foot to the floor. Now, I don't mind talking about how empathetic I feel or how that may feel disappointing or hurtful to Mom, if that's what she's going to feel. But I have no control over that. They are not my monkeys, not my circus. I care, but it's still not my circus. Those are your feelings, not feelings I'm making everybody have. Because believe it or not, a family could be, well, I understand that. Why don't we plan another day? Or why don't you get together with the siblings at this time, Mom and Dad at this time? I mean, there's lots of options. To work on neutral responses, we can learn to do these things because it takes practice. And again, I've had people share with me, oh, Jerry, you're just so good at those neutral responses. You just know what to say. There were long, long years I had no idea what to say. And I would say the wrong things. I would get reactive. I would try to comply. I would try to fix everybody's feelings. I did all of that. Then I began to work on giving neutral responses in a calm way, which calms me down and many times helps to keep the other person calm down. Because Calmness can be contagious if you hold on to it. You can first write down what they might challenge you about. Write down your possible responses that are non-reactive. Or as I've talked about, what would Betty do? What would Betty say? Think you're the neighbor, and how would your neighbor respond to your parents about changing Christmas Eve? Or how would Betty share with them about not being able to come to Christmas Eve? Somebody who's detached and not enmeshed. What would Betty say? Or you can say, what would Jerry say? I have a lot of people who do that too and say, well, I'm trying to think, well, what would Jerry say in this situation? You can write down your possible responses and practice them so you do not go into autopilot or reactivity pilot when you are addressing difficult or highly charged situations. Use a calm and mature voice. Make sure you are calm. You can even keep it low level. Don't make it high level volume. Now, there may be a challenge. And they may say, oh, well, this can't be. We got to change this. What would you say if they said, and you probably know what their challenge would be. What would be your next response? What would their next challenge be? What would your next response be? And if you have that worked out ahead of time, you'll be a lot more calmer and be ready. And many times we can predict the behavior of other people in our family. We know exactly what they're going to say. Because when I do role plays with clients, they know exactly what their families would say. And then I would say this, and I'd say, well, what would your sister say to that? What would your husband say if I said that? And they know. Because we know what those responses are going to be for the most part. You can prepare your neutral, non-reactive responses. And of course, whenever we make a change, there's 3 stages of resistance to go through. Why are you doing this? Secondly, you need to stop doing this. And fourthly, stop doing this or else. And if we can stay calm, neutral, and non-reactive through all those stages, then a greater acceptance tends to come over time. And we're training others to experience and accept the new me without doing harm, without doing damage. I don't have to yell or be in conflict or overfunction or triangulate, or I don't have to do any of those things. In me choosing to be me. Over time, they're going to go, well, you know how Jerry is. He's just going to do whatever he wants to do. Well, good. That's what I want to do in my life, is do whatever I want to do. I'm an adult. I get to do that. Now, that doesn't mean I don't care about my family or care about my spouse, care about my kids. I care about neighbors. I care about everyone. But I still have a right to do what I want to do as an adult. I want to share with you, I've got that 4-hour masterclass coming up probably in December or January, taught by me. We will be sending out notices to everyone on our email list, reducing your reactivity. I hope you'll click subscribe, click the bell so you can be notified when new videos come out. Join as a YouTube member. That really helps us to produce these videos. It only costs $1.99 a month. And you can join as a YouTube member, and you can see the button for join and become a paid member for $1.99 a month. And that helps us produce these videos for you. I hope you'll follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And I want to thank you for joining me today. Have a great day. And be wise. Well, hi, everyone. There's a topic I just wanted to discuss titled 4 Secrets to Self-Forgiveness If You Grew Up in an Unforgiving Family. A lot of my audience and a lot of my viewers grew up in dysfunctional families, toxic families, narcissistic families, alcoholic families, very dependent families, very enmeshed families. families in which there were toxic divorces, abandonment, and many kinds of struggles that way. This topic, I think, is important because so many people that I've talked to over the years, and I have talked to a lot of people over 45 years, probably thousands. And one of the things they have struggled with consistently has been self-forgiveness. And I felt the same way as well. I did not understand self-forgiveness. I did not understand what that truly meant. And I certainly did not know how to do it. So we're going to be talking about self-forgiveness. And if you've had a struggle with that, continue to watch. I've got some secrets for you that I'll bet at least a couple of them you may not have thought about. And I think that could be a help to you. I first want to mention the online program that I now have up, which is Your New Road to Self, kind of a culmination of my 45 years, putting it into 6 modules with exercises and tools. You can find that on my website, Jerry Wise Relationship Systems, or I think there are some links down below that we'll be putting on there as well. What I found is that people who have worked with me have made, I've found, more progress more quickly and have saved money in the long run, particularly in terms of therapy, coaching, counseling. And so I feel my program and my perspective, my methods are cost effective. And then let me talk about one other thing, which is the training that I have up, Build the Real Self You Were Never Allowed to Have. Totally free. Click on the training, go watch it. No obligation, nothing required from you, other than I think an email or something, just so you can get the program. First of all, we all have to choose between self-hate or unforgiveness of self versus self-acceptance, self-love, and self-forgiveness. People ask me so many times, how do I forgive myself? And in my experience of a long, long time, we often ask not the best questions. And we will ask how questions when it actually is a when question. It's not how do you forgive yourself? It's when will you choose to forgive yourself? And it's a when question. Now, please don't misunderstand me, or please don't think it's just a matter of flipping a coin, though believe it or not, it is. It is just a matter of flipping a coin. It is just a matter of turning a switch. But there's a lot goes into turning that switch. I do want to say that there can be a lot going into doing that. But it's like somebody asking me, okay, Jerry, I want you to show me how to breathe. Well, you take air in your mouth and take it into your lungs and blow it back out and then take in some more. I mean, or teach me how to breathe. Just start doing it. I mean, and so many times we will ask the how questions. How do I forgive myself? Or people will say, how do I stop hating me? The way to stop hating you is to stop hating you. Sounds simple, but it may not be easy because it is a when. When am I going to forgive myself? When am I going to stop hating myself? I understand we've had years, decades, or complete childhoods that have included hating ourselves or not forgiving ourselves, taking on the blame, feeling the shame and guilt. There is no forgiveness, and particularly in non-forgiving families, especially when they're shaming and guilt tripping, then we internalize and incorporate that as to how we treat ourselves. So I think becoming aware that we have learned that, and that's a pattern, but then getting actually to the when am I going to start forgiving myself? Didn't say it's easy, but it is simple. And so we do have to deal with that truth. That can happen when you're ready to do it. And it doesn't take a whole lot of how. It doesn't take a whole lot of methods, 3 steps to forgiving yourself and or 12 step. No, it's a matter of when you're ready. You have a right to not be ready. And what I mean by that is if you grew up in a dysfunctional family and you grew up for many years in an unforgiving family and you grew up believing you should not be forgiven and people weren't forgiving in your family, and many dysfunctional families are not forgiving, then you internalize the not forgiving and then carry that over into your adulthood, and your inner self does not match your adult self, and it continues to be unforgiving of you. In other words, you can't make a mistake, can't mess up. And certainly I've made enough mistakes that I've had to learn, or not had, didn't have to. I chose to learn self-forgiveness because I have done enough mistakes in my life that I knew I was going to have to deal with that. And of course, particularly if you've done shameful things, then, then I don't deserve forgiveness at all from myself, which is just the opposite is actually true. We'll come to that in a moment. So the first secret is self-forgiveness is a choice. It doesn't take a manual. It doesn't take 5 books you have to read. If you have to read 5 books, then go ahead. That's fine. And if you're not ready to forgive yourself, I would recommend you do this. And I'm not shaming you for not being ready to forgive yourself. I know how it feels to not be ready to forgive yourself. So if you don't forgive yourself, then start out with, I am not ready to forgive myself. And say that 100 times a day. As you begin to accept yourself and accept that you're not ready to forgive yourself, it has a paradoxical effect because you're accepting yourself in your non-forgiveness, which is a paradox, which means you're loving and caring about yourself in your unforgiveness or unreadiness. And again, you may be unready because of all that you've been through for all of your life. And it may not be something that you could escape with so much unforgiveness that you grew up with. So the first thought is self-forgiveness is a choice. Am I ready to make that choice, or am I not ready to make that choice? I need to think about that. If I'm not ready, you're okay. If you're ready, you're okay. Either way, you're okay. And we don't want to judge and shame ourselves for where we're at and say, Jerry said, I may not be ready. And that was okay. I'm going to accept myself, as he mentioned, in not being ready while you're starting to be ready as you're accepting yourself. Because self-acceptance is kind of a beginning of self-forgiveness, just to accept yourself. So it has a nice way of messing with our head in a positive way. Notice I didn't say, I'll never be able to forgive myself. I'll never want to forgive myself. I never said use that statement. I said, I'm not yet ready to forgive myself, or I am not ready to forgive myself. That's a statement of fact. It's not a shaming statement that's negative or positive. It just is. And I'm going to continue to say that until, as I begin to say it more and more, then self-forgiveness actually can start to happen. And that's what I found when we have these knots going on in our heads. Number 2, self-forgiveness does not absolve you from responsibility, but it releases you from self-punishment. No different than if I forgive someone else. it doesn't absolve them from their responsibility. It allows me to let it go and to let them go. But it doesn't mean they don't have responsibility for the wrongs that they have done, no different than I. If I forgive myself, it doesn't mean I haven't done the wrong doesn't happen anymore or it never happened. No, it did happen. I was wrong. I made the mistake. I made a poor choice. I am responsible for that. But it does release me from the self punishment. Early in our life, we got family punishment and the emotional field punishment, the way the Wi-Fi was in the family. And we would get their ire for our mistakes, stupid things we've done. And we've all done stupid things. We've all done immoral things. We've all done insensitive things. I mean, if you're human, I imagine now we're for all human, we're going to violate or hurt other people or do things that would be warranted for forgiveness. But it releases us from self punishment. I don't have to keep punishing myself. And so when someone comes to me after, let's say I've forgiven myself. Let's say I know one of the things that I remember I felt really kind of attacked and hurt when I was a pastor because I had some folks who were very negative and acting kind of immaturely and were projecting their own abusive father family situation onto me. I was still pretty immature and didn't know how to handle it very well. And so I would take it personally. I would feel shamed. I would feel, I got reactive. And then I would start talking badly about them to, let's say, other elders or other deacons or leaders or whatever. And it's like, and I truly felt bad about doing that because that's, even though they were wrong, two wrongs don't make a right. They're over there talking about me and trashing me. I'm over here maybe saying more of the truth, but I'm still trashing them, you know. And it's like, this is not healthy. This is not normal. And so I feel badly about that. So when things got reconciled and when I felt more strength and less pinged and less reactive, after going through some healing and things like that, then I could go and say, hey, to the folks who were giving me a hard time, I think unnecessarily, it was their own family of origin stuff. I would say, well, I think, I do think what you did was wrong, but I also know what I did was wrong. I can't apologize for you. I can only apologize for me. And I regret saying those things. I regret doing those things. Now, I no longer have to punish myself for doing those things, but I'm still responsible for doing those things. So if I then start interacting with some of the people I talk to about those issues, I may need to do some cleaning up or making amends, or, I'm still responsible. Or if somebody says 10 years later, didn't you do that to, Betty and John? I'm still responsible. Yes, I did. That is what I did. That was not a proud moment of mine. That was not a good experience for me. I'm sure not for them as well. There were lots of extraneous circumstances going on, but I did do that, and that was wrong. So I'm still responsible, but I don't have to beat myself up and keep punishing myself for that. So that's what's helpful about self-forgiveness. Number 3, self-forgiveness is more likely to keep you from repeating your bad actions versus unforgiveness. So many people, if I were to ask them, if I waved a magic wand and you totally forgave yourself right now, what would be a downside? And let me tell you, may have guessed some of those things it might be, but one of them is I would fear doing it again. And so I keep this unforgiveness going so I won't do it again. I know that's how I felt. I didn't forgive me because I thought that'll keep me on the straight and narrow. And actually,
Really what it does is it keeps you in a more dangerous situation of repeating it again. A lack of self-forgiveness, you're more likely to be reactive, make mistakes, even the same mistakes. Whereas true self-forgiveness, you are probably less likely to do those behaviors again. Probably much less likely because you have internalized the problem in a healthy way, forgiven yourself, take full responsibility, and move on with your life. You are probably less likely to repeat those behaviors. Whereas if you keep yourself in jail in unforgiveness, you're going to try to break out, and you'll break out by repeating the mistakes again. And I've just seen that over 45 years. It's just been a truth that I've seen happen time and time again because people, well, I don't want to forgive myself because I don't want to forget what I did. Well, don't forget what you did, but forgive yourself. You, well, I need to take responsibility for what I did. Take responsibility for what you did and forgive yourself. And as I mentioned, what are the downsides? And I mentioned one of them because I'll repeat this. If I forgive myself, then I'll repeat this. I will not learn the lesson that I needed to learn. If I forgive myself, then I'm applying, in some ways, cheap grace to me. I'll just forgive me and just go on and do it again. If I forgive myself, then I'm more worried about me than I am of other people in terms of caring about other people, that I'm more self-centered or narcissistic. And all of these downsides they're true and they're real, but they're false and they're kind of baloney. But they do keep us in, I don't want to forgive myself because, well, and if I forgave myself, what if these people whom I gossiped about were to see me acting happy, fulfilled, normal, forgiven? What would they think if they saw me that way? Who cares what they would think if they saw you that way? I'm fully willing to take responsibility for what I did at any time. And that's why, if there have been affairs that have happened within marriages, let's say a husband, it's common, but not just husbands have affairs, so do wives. But a husband has an affair, come back, it was his only affair, it was totally inappropriate. He was wrong, and he wants to try to work it out with his wife if she's willing. And so one of the difficulties is unforgiveness gets in the way of healing a relationship. If I hate myself and never forgive myself regarding having an affair, then I will never have one again. When in actuality, if you don't forgive yourself, if you don't choose to love yourself in a healthy way, then you probably will have another affair. So it's not the unforgiveness that keeps you safe. Unforgiveness does not keep you safe. Self-hate does not keep you safe. Anger does not keep you safe. And a lot of people, we've been taught that those should do that. And, if I just stay angry with them all the time, then I won't be hurt. No, you'll be hurt all the time now. I mean, number one, there's no guarantee against getting hurt. But I can at least guarantee you won't be hurt all the time if you give up your anger. You still could get hurt, but you're not. If you're angry all the time, then you're getting hurt all the time if you don't give up that anger. Because anger is something just stays in there and goes and goes and goes and goes and goes. And always pops up his head and really causes a real difficulty. Number 4, a lack of self-forgiveness may be a carryover from the family super self and the family Wi-Fi. And I think I've already implied or suggested this, that lack of self-forgiveness, where did you learn to not forgive yourself? Ask yourself that question so you can go back and ask, where did I learn to not forgive myself? Well, first of all, there was never any forgiveness at home. Nobody said, you're forgiven. Nobody said, that's okay. You're imperfect. We still love you. That wasn't going on. And also, if I felt a lack of self forgiveness or if I had self disdain, what I find in dysfunctional families is parents didn't intervene in that. It's so normal for them that why would they intervene? Because it's probably normal for them growing up and normal in the family now. But if you have that self disdain, self hate, unforgiveness, parents just didn't deal with that. They never said, "Oh, well, that's not good. We need to talk about that." And dysfunctional parents and families don't recognize that as a red flag. They don't recognize that it's something that should be addressed with their children. They just, because they do the same thing with themselves. So you're just doing what they do for themselves, and it's all normal. It's all just normal. So we're not going to intervene in that. Whereas in healthy families, a parent would intervene if they see a child being too hard on themselves or being self disdaining, unforgiving, depressed, or just feel like a failure. And, a healthy parent would intervene in that, go, oh, we need to take a look at this. So I think looking back at your family Wi-Fi, looking back at your family super self, and speaking of the super self, I spend at least an entire module in the online program that I have that I would suggest you to go take a look at and read about, that's on the family super self and how it works so that you can use it today and use that understanding to free yourself from the dysfunctional family you have or had.
I hope you found this video helpful. I want to introduce you to my new step-by-step program designed to help you break free from the toxic relationship dynamics in your family, to heal your relationships, and build the real self you were never allowed to have. I personally wish I would have had access to a program like this early in my own journey. This program is an investment in yourself, your relationships, your healing, and your life. To learn more about the program, click on the program link below provided in the description. I truly believe it will have a profound effect on your life. Hi, my name is Jerry Wise. I'm a relationship expert. I'm an adult children of alcoholic expert. I'm the director for the Center for Self-Differentiation, and I offer office and inline services for individuals, marriages, and families. This video is entitled, Why My Relationships Don't Work. Adult Children of Alcoholics. This video is a video on the experience of ACA, and I do use ACOA and ACA interchangeably, adult children of alcoholics. This is a video about the experiences of those who've been in relationship, and I wanted to share a few things from over the decades in working with ACAs and share with you some of the experiences they have shared with me about relationships and how difficult relationships can be for adult children of alcoholics, especially if we are not in recovery and especially if we have not done the recovery work in our own lives. They have even reported that they have been told, ACAs and ACOAs, that we are told there's something wrong with you. What is wrong with you? And maybe some of you have heard that from some of your spouses, boyfriends, girlfriends, partners. And what I know is this: ACOAs are doing the best that they can. They spend their whole lives trying to do the right thing, trying to think the right way, behave in the right way, feel in the right way, and that the very last thing they want is an unhealthy relationship with dramas, ups and downs, chaos. And so often they keep trying to do the right thing and to do relationships right and to find love and acceptance. These are things which often go eluded and are elusive for the ACA, and they were elusive for them when they were growing up. So we then go on a lifelong search for these aspects and for these things, often not finding them because of our brokenness and where we have come from. The problem is most ACAs do not know what they are looking for, and they've never learned how to find it, and have never practiced having it. So they don't know what they're looking for, they've never learned how to find it, and they've never practiced having it. It is hard to find what you're looking for when you've never seen it. And I think that's what makes it so difficult for ACAs in relationships. They're trying to live in such a way they have not had experience with, and then become very frustrated, have problems, broken relationships, unhappy relationships, and they wonder, why can't I be happy like those folks? I see these happy couples, or I see those people who are happy. Why can't I find that? ACA ask themselves those questions. These are some things that ACA report to me that they feel in relationships. Healthy relationships or stable relationships require consistency and stability. This is very difficult for ACAs. All we have learned growing up was inconsistency and instability. So we are calm in a crisis and are crazy or drama folks during calm. And I think that dynamic is very common for ACAs. It also is problematic for marriages and families when that dynamic happens. But that's something we should look out for. They also report having off and on relationships. They're in love and then they're leaving. Then they're in love and then they pull back. And that's what I call a pull or push relationship. They're either pushing or they're pulling. Pushing forward or pursuing, or pulling back and retreating. And that pattern goes back and forth and back and forth. ACAs often assume that unstable, toxic, abusive, and unavailable relationship is just around the corner. And so we end up being hypervigilant in our relationships. We can't relax. We can't be at peace. We can't be calm about relationships because we're always worried about what's around the corner. Because growing up, we were always worried about what's around the corner. Alcoholic families, addicted families were quite chaotic and difficult to manage emotionally. So the ACA becomes hypervigilant as an adult, and this does not allow them to relax, to chill out, to be calm. It's very difficult for ACAs to do that without recovery. ACAs experience sudden love changes, again from love one minute to anger the next, to coldness, accusing. ACAs, of course, feel unlovable and unworthy. And so they experience a very high degree of allergy to intimacy. If you have an allergy to something, the more you have it, the more reactive you become. If I am allergic to a bee sting, If I get one bee sting, I have a reaction. If I get 10 bee stings, I can probably die. It's similar for the adult child of an alcoholic in relationships. And what we are allergic to is intimacy, closeness, authenticity, a trusting, loving relationship. When those things start to happen, the ACA or adult child of an alcoholic starts to become very reactive in their lives. And they become very reactive and cannot sit with and experience a level of love, calmness, and caring from another person. It just hurts, if I can use that word. Good things hurt someone who's broken and not healthy. And I just want to make that point. That's very important. We're allergic to intimacy. So if somebody comes along and wants to be intimate, that does not feel comfortable to us as ACOAs. That does not feel okay. It feels like I should be mistrusting of that. It means abuse or problems are right around the corner. And that's a part of our allergy to intimacy. The ACOAs also talk about relationships in which their heads are full of family voices. There are lots of tapes playing in the heads and hearts of ACAs. And those tapes and those voices are always running. You're not good enough. What's wrong with you? What did you do wrong now? You're unlovable. You're bad. You're wrong. You'll never do it good enough. Those tapes keep playing and those voices keep playing. And I find that very often for adult children of alcoholics. They have a lot of tapes that are playing all the time. Adult children of alcoholics have lots of anger due to what I consider fear, rejection, shame, and abandonment. Because fear, rejection, shame, and abandonment are primary feelings. Anger is a secondary feeling, in my opinion. But what gets seen is the anger. What's underneath it is fear, abandonment, rejection, unworthiness, shame, but what gets shown is often anger or withdrawal. And so reading and interpreting those things can help in the healing process. And again, we often have a secondary feeling of anger. Often anger is a secondary feeling, not primary. It's the one that's easiest to show. So when a man feels hurt, how often does a man say, gosh, that really hurt? No, what the man will do is just get angry because it's okay to be angry. So there's the secondary feeling, but the primary feeling is I felt hurt. And I think particularly for men that's very common, but women it's also true as well. So ACOAs also have reactivity as the norm. So reactivity is often something that happens time and time again, many times a day, many times a week. The ACOA also does not trust the world. The world's not a place to be trusted. They learned that growing up. You don't want to trust the world. The world's not a trustable place. Even people are not trustable. My family's not trustable. And in fact, I'm not even sure I'm trustable. So there's really a deficit of trust for the ACOA. As we know, it's very common for ACOAs to get caught up in addictive behavior as well. Addiction, acting out in unhealthy ways, or hyper-responsibility are the norm. You can either act out in unhealthy ways or act out in over-healthy ways, meaning becoming over-responsible, overdoing, over-good, over-controlled, or the other side, over-irresponsible, over-acting out. And so we'll either flip between those two pendulum swings. Adult children of alcoholics, for them, intimacy is fueled by keeping your real thoughts and feelings to yourself. No one must know the real you because they would not like the real you. They would also not love the real you. So we do not live an authentic life with other people. We live a life that what we think other people would want us to behave, feel, think, and we're always scanning and making sure we're making everybody happy. As a result, roles are the norm and not self-differentiation for the ACA in relationships. So when we find a relationship, we end up acting out all these roles in the relationship. We aren't ourselves. And a relationship, a healthy relationship, requires a self, a true self, not just roles, because roles will end up causing problems. After decades of working with ACAs, these are the things I've found which have interfered with ACAs finding healthy relationships. I wanted to share some of my own experiences further. I find that ACAs have a wounded inner child. The inner child is wounded. It's never been healed. The inner Jerry, the inner me, is not feeling good, never has, and continues to cause me lots of problems. And for many that I've talked to, their inner child is not healed. The ACA have unrealistic, broken, and even toxic expectations about relationships. In other words, they don't know what's normal, so all they have is their toxic view of relationship as to what is normal. They experience low sense of self, little self-differentiation, so enmeshment is the norm. Having a self or a sense of self is not something we got growing up in our families. So we become what the family wants us to become, or we better act the way we're supposed to act. Well, the true self doesn't get developed, and so we don't have the self-differentiation, which counters enmeshment. So we have a lot of enmeshment in relationships, and enmeshment causes lots of problems. ACAs continue to fight battles from childhood and bring them into their adult relationships. So not only are there lots of voices going on in ACAs' heads, but they're fighting those battles internally and then bring them to their adult relationships. And then those battles get acted out in their marriages, in their relationships with others, and it just continues on. That inheritance we get from our family of origin is the gift that keeps on giving. And we continue to act that out until we do the healing work to have that stop. And for ACAs, it's always a joy to see when those things begin to stop. And when the voices begin to stop. And when the patterns begin to stop. And when the inner child begins to be taken care of. They find a sense of calm and peace that they've never known before. Because they haven't known that peace. ACAs have an addiction to love caused by excessive neediness. Due to having few emotional needs met early in their life, and for many this neediness is unquenchable, so that no partner could ever do enough or meet needs enough for the ACA. There's no partner out there that could meet the deep well of needs for an ACA and ACOA. And I usually try to educate folks about that because that's not bad news, that's good news. Because you've got to stop looking to your partner to meet those needs because they can never meet it enough. We must look to ourselves and our own recovery and healing to meet those needs. What I teach people time and time again is that there is no adult relationship that can heal childhood wounds. If you've been wounded by your parents, as adults, your parents can't fix those wounds. You must do the work of healing those wounds. I don't mean by that parents can't have a better relationship with their children, or parents can't even say, hey, I'm sorry for what happened. I really am sorry. But remorse is not the same thing as healing that. So I just am saying your parents,
Your family of origin, your husbands, your spouses cannot fix that which is broken in you. That's your work to do, and that's what the work of ACOA recovery is about. The bad news is others can't do it. The good news is you can. After many failed relationships, the ACA have been looking for healthy relationships. They often tend to give up. They settle for unhealthy relationships or settle for no relationships at all, believing there's something wrong with their relationship partners or with them. They know there's something wrong because over years you kind of look at that and go, there's something not working. So I will just settle into living the fortress life, like a fortress or a castle. No one gets in, and I will just live that way. And many times, sadly, ACOAs or ACAs settle for the life in a fortress emotionally because they can't figure it out. They can't find what they're looking for, so I'll just stay behind the walls. ACAs continue to wonder why relationships are so difficult and wonder how can other people seem so happy. They probably really aren't that happy. They can't be. So really, they're not happy. What I'm seeing is just an illusion. But really, ACAs feel I think very much a purity of heart, which I really believe exists in that they truly want to be happy and they truly want to find someone to be happy with. And that is their search. They just don't have the map, the road, the means, the recovery yet to do that. But it's not as though they don't have a sincere desire for it to happen. What I want to share with you here at the end of the video is that I would encourage you to get the big red book for ACAs, or Adult Children of Alcoholics. I'll try to put on the screen the website where you can purchase that book. There's also a great 12-step workbook for ACAs. I would strongly recommend that as well. And if you'd like to email me, I have contact information on the screen for you. I'll send you a complete listing of all my free videos on YouTube, explain the online process of working with me, explain fees, answer any of your questions you might have, and there's no pressure. I'm very easy to work with. Check out Andrew's list for lots of recommendations, and I hope you will join our YouTube channel. To get all of our latest videos. And I particularly would like you to share this video with your social media. If you would, I would be very grateful. I want to thank you very much for watching today, and have a great day.
Hello, my name is Jerry Wise, and I'm a relationship expert. I've been helping individuals, couples, and families for close to 40 years now. And I'm the director of the Center for Self-Differentiation, and also the director of Jerry Wise Relationship Systems, which you can find me at that website as well as YouTube channel. And today I'd like to talk about the traits of a spouse of a narcissist. I'm fortunate enough to be out here at the Omni Resort in Paradise Valley in
Paradise Valley, Arizona. It's a little chilly today, though we've had some nice weather, but it's gotten a little cool out here today. In fact, I think there's some people that jumped in the pool. It's a little cool for me to jump in the pool, but you could hear them in the background, I suppose. This video is a list of traits regarding spouses of narcissists. It's not an exhaustive list, but it's a list of traits I wanted to share with you if you've been in a relationship with a narcissist. And I wanted to also say this video is for those who have been in a relationship with a narcissist. All the way, there's a continuum of narcissism from malignant narcissists way down here on this end, all the way down to someone who has the traits of narcissism but not full-blown personality disorder. So I realized that some of the information I'm going to share would not apply to everyone exactly wherever that narcissist falls on that continuum. There are different things you would do if you were in a relationship with a malignant narcissist. There's some things you might do if you were in a relationship with someone whom had some traits of narcissism or counterdependence, or someone who's kind of self-absorbed. So it's sometimes difficult to do a video kind of in the middle of the road, because that's why you need to work with someone specifically and individually in your case. Not all of the things that I would share would match your situation exactly. That's why you need to work with someone individually. But I'd like to talk in general about the traits of someone who's in a relationship with a narcissist, or SON, spouses of narcissists, sons. I'd really like to give some credit to the book by Wendy Bahari and her book Disarming the Narcissist, Surviving and Thriving with the Self-Absorbed. It's a very, very good book. I'd recommend that to you. You might check that out. There are a few things I've lifted from the book. Most of these ideas are mine, but there's a couple things, and I wanted to give her credit if I'm using any of her material. She really provides some great advice for those many, many spouses of the self-absorbed, which includes the narcissistic spouse. There's many things I'd like to reshare from her work and several of my own. As I've said, I've worked with many spouses who are married to the very self-absorbed, and to those who have had narcissistic husbands and wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, even friends, pastors. Narcissists are everywhere and can be in any part of our society. It can be difficult to deal with them. This is for the spouses of someone who's in a deep relationship with a narcissist. So what are some of the traits of a spouse of a narcissist? Well, spouses find narcissists to love and to resolve their childhood issues. We find narcissists to try to work out our childhood and past material that's within us, unconscious material, psychological material, and we hook up with a narcissist, and we repeat the patterns again from the past, but it also is a warning to us and a way that the universe helps us to begin to work on those issues, because we're in a very difficult relationship and we need to face those issues. So spouses, again, are attracted and love narcissists to try to work out some of those issues. And I hope that the spouses will see it that way. Second of all, spouses of narcissists may be very strong people. They suffer from low self-differentiation. They don't have a lot of self in there. And for them, enmeshment or fusion or codependency is very easy. Whereas autonomy and detachment and separateness is very difficult emotionally for spouses of narcissists. Thirdly, spouses have few, if any, personal boundaries. They either don't feel they're worthy of having boundaries, or they don't feel they can even keep them or declare them. They will often be used, disrespected, abused, ignored, disempowered, but cannot draw a line in the sand that they can keep. And they become very frustrated about that, sometimes can become very hopeless, and it can be very difficult for them to keep up a positive outlook when they just feel that they cannot set those boundaries with the narcissist. And again, it's not because they're weak or soft or uninsightful or stupid or dumb. It's because of none of those reasons. It is due to their own emotional field, which is that unconscious part of us, and the family of origin past which we have grown up in, and those unconscious, unresolved issues is why we can't set and maintain boundaries. So the bad news is we can't set and maintain boundaries. The good news is if we resolve some of those issues, we will begin to organically set boundaries, become stronger, and begin to work our way out of a very difficult situation. Fourthly, spouses of narcissists have a bent towards dissociation and observational blindness. And that dissociation is learned early. And we have learned just to leave our reasoning, to leave our thoughts, to leave our awareness, and even, in severe cases, to leave our bodies. Dissociation is we just take off from ourselves because it's so painful and so difficult. Whereas observational blindness is not seeing our own part in the relationship pattern and how we pretzeled together, this pretzeling between us and the narcissist. And we don't see that and we don't understand that. And so with that observational blindness, we'll make poor choices and think this is the right way to go or this is what I should do, when really that's not a good solution. That solution is coming out of our pretzel life in which we're all intertwined with the narcissist. And again, we do this dissociation, we do this observational blindness to take us away from the bad that is happening in our lives, much like we did when we were growing up as children in family of origin. Fifthly, spouses of narcissists feel trapped in entanglements and triangles with kids, because they have kids with the narcissist. They have biological connections in that way. And also business connections. And I've known some in which they're both working together in the same business. Well, now we've got even that connection. And how can I deal with the narcissist now that I have kids, now that we're in business together, and all these kinds of things with a family business. We have emotional triangles and entanglements with in-laws, family of origin from each of us, our friends, the flying monkeys that come in from all over places. And so we end up with many loyalties, and it's hard to see the forest for the trees because we've got so many different entanglements going on all at once. It seems very, very overwhelming. And we also may have some positive relationships with the narcissist family. There may be some support in that family for us. Our own family of origin may have some people who support us and some who don't. We have friends who support us and maybe some who don't. So it's a very complicated map that we look at, and how do we grow out of that? How do we progress out of that? Spouses of narcissists have low self-love and very low self-acceptance. They are very harsh with themselves, they're very critical, they're very hard on themselves, and also they don't know about how to love themselves. And if we don't know how to love ourselves, we will find someone who doesn't know how to love us either. If we don't know how to love ourselves, then we'll find somebody who doesn't know how to love us either. I wanted to repeat that. Seventh, spouses of narcissists tend to be other-focused or caretakers. They're the worriers. The spouses are the supporting cast members in this narcissistic, self-absorbed play.
and we play that supporting cast role for their lives. They're the center, and we kind of orbit around them. And that gets very tiring. It gets old. Also, it doesn't meet our needs, and not much comes our way. Spouses of narcissists tend to be shame-based and guilt-based, extremely. We always feel we have done something wrong, which is guilt, and we always feel they're... And so, spouses of narcissists tend to be shame-based, guilt-based. We always feel we have done things wrong, which is guilt. And we always feel there is something defective about us. That's shame. We are wrong. We are bad. Ninthly, spouses experience high unconscious and sometimes conscious chronic anxiety, which produces tons of reactivity within the spouses of narcissists, and will cause all kinds of arguments and all kinds of things that will happen as a result of that chronic anxiety that comes from all the unconscious things that we're not dealing with. 10th, spouses of narcissists tend to have their awareness and their subjectivity was shaped by learning narcissistic relationships as the norm growing up and also into our adulthood with relationships. 11, number 11, spouses of narcissists exert major efforts to change the narcissist for the better. And they work on a more the better. The harder I try, the better it will be. Trying harder will work. Pushing and pulling will affect a change. Distancing and enmeshing will improve the relationship if I will just do that in the right combination. Trait 12, the spouse of a narcissist does not feel special and have few needs, trying to eradicate their own needs. They have few respect and empathy needs, but they crave respect, empathy, but suppress those all of the time so that they won't get in the way of the relationship, because empathy needs and respect needs don't go well in a narcissistic relationship. Number 13, spouses of narcissists tend to over-empathize, and these are the people narcissists target for supply. If you're empathetic and you tend to over-empathize, then the narcissist is going to seek you out and find you, because that's who they want. 14, spouses of narcissists tend to settle for the crumbs at the banquet of life and are very cheap, in quotes, emotionally. Just a very, very little emotional love bombing or emotional positive coming from the narcissistic spouse goes a long way. In other words, the narcissistic spouse say, honey, I really do love you. And then for 3 months, they don't need to hear anything else because they've gotten that little crumb, and now they'll live on that for quite some time. And the narcissist hopes that they will. 15, the spouse of narcissists tend to view entitlement by others, such as the narcissist, as a strength. There's something inside of them, oh, that looks strong. And they have a strong direction, or they have good control, or they have strong self-love. And it's kind of impressive when you see the narcissist and how they function. You go, ooh, I'm kind of attracted to that because they're a strong person, and I'm not really that as a spouse of a narcissist. So I almost see that in a very positive light. And then we will gravitate toward them as well. 16, spouses of narcissists have a difficult time with the fear of confronting others, especially their narcissistic partner. They know shame-shedding event is going to happen if they confront or share their own needs with the narcissist. Shame-shedding is going to happen, and the narcissist is going to feel shamed, and they're going to take it out on the spouse. Well, so Jerry, what should spouses of narcissists do to heal? And again, I haven't shared all the traits that are possible, but these are some of the traits of spouses of narcissists. And so what would be your advice, at least to start with? And we can do a whole nother video on what advice we would do, and I'll do that for you. First of all, I wouldn't do couples therapy or couples coaching. If you do that, things tend to stay hidden. People get bullied. It's show-off time for the narcissist, or it's time to be charming and put on an act. Or it's time for the narcissist to be intimidating, or these type of moves, so the focus will not be on them. Secondly, work on self. Self-differentiation work is most important. You can begin to read Jenny Brown, Growing Yourself Up, Harriet Lerner books, and books such as those that will help you begin to focus on real self-differentiation. Thirdly, begin to reduce feeding the beast. Begin to stop providing the details of your life, feelings, dreams, hurts. Stop putting your heart out there for the narcissist to pound on. We need to keep that within ourselves. Fourthly, examine and explore how you got here with a really good family of origin coach or therapist. This work will definitely give you the clues for your next step and to begin to get your life unstuck. Fifthly, remember, narcissistic abuse is not about an overreactivity to the normal ups and downs of relationships, nor is it complaint about uncompatibility or mere emotional unavailability in relationships. Narcissists tend to want to harm, and their inability to change and their sadistic nature, it's about extreme chronic devaluation, control, sabotage, and disrespect. That's what it's about. And number 6, as spouses of narcissists are survivors. See yourself as a survivor. Your trauma is real. Your trauma bond with the narcissist is real. Begin to bond with healthier others. Recovery groups, friends, supportive church friends. Increase me time. Increase self-pleasure. Get a good therapist or coach that you can begin to bond with them rather than the narcissist. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to sign up for information that I'd like to send you. Watch the 150 videos I have on YouTube. I hope you will join our YouTube channel. Sign up to be on my mailing list at www.jerrywiserelationshipsystems.com. There's going to be some new workshops coming out that are already done. They just need to be posted and you'll be able to watch them. And I'll send those to you if you're on the mailing list. So I hope you will keep in touch with us so that we can contact you with this information. I feel very thrilled to be out here in Arizona. I had a reception that I needed to attend this past week, which was wonderful, out here in Paradise Valley. The mountains are behind me. The pool's back there. I think they've got 3 pools here or something. It's an incredible location. The Omni Monte Lucia resort, which is quite beautiful. I'd like to return sometime. I hope the video has been a help to you in some way today. I realize I'm starting to lose my light. We were trying to get this done sooner, and the light, when it starts to get dark, it starts to get dark quickly. And I may have missed that time spot. But I do want to tell you, I hope that this has been a support and a help to you. Please watch those other videos, and thank you for watching today, and have a great day.